Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. He's only comprehended a little rule force. He's still far from being a martial supreme. Chen Chuanzhou's voice resounded. A crack was torn in the space and a huge vibration could be heard. It was as if the space was about to shatter. A huge sword as wide as a washboard swept across, cutting through the sky. Heavenly ancient bronze sword, break. As he shouted, sword chi filled the sky. The green color of spring quickly dissipated, and the entire space was filled with sword chi. The 8th grade heavenly ancient bronze sword was just right for Chen Chuanzhou's bold and unrestrained sword aura. With a slash, the overbearing and unparalleled origin power stimulated an endless sword might that rumbled down like a thunderbolt. The rules of spring that were surrounding young Emperor Hao Lian were all shattered. The sword might was enough to topple mountains and overturn seas, and it traversed the vast sky. Chen Chuanzhou's power was surging. Although they were both peak 9 stars martial venerables, his vital qi accumulation was far stronger than that of Hao Lian Xiao Huang. However, he had basically given up on the idea of becoming a martial supreme after failing to do so for so many years. He no longer harbored any hope. That was why he couldn't allow others to advance, let alone a strong opponent. Young Emperor Hao Lian, I must kill you today. His face was filled with ruthlessness as he looked at the rules of spring around Xiao Huang Hao Lian. The despair he had felt after many years of trying to advance to the next level without any results condensed into an extremely strong jealousy and hatred at this moment. He was determined to kill. Humph. Young Emperor Hao Lian snorted coldly. He remained fearless in the face of the sword gleams and miasma. The law of spring condensed once again under his guidance, like a green spark in spring. It danced joyfully in his palm, reflecting a calm expression on his face. There was not the slightest trace of panic or emotion. Using the empty finger to punch in the palm of the Baiyan. It's all about the diamond body, commanding the wind and clouds, being indestructible, and being invincible in the fist consciousness. A voice appeared in young Emperor Hao Lian's mind. It was the first time he had learned boxing. Gu Feiyang had guided him and taught him with great care. Is that so? He got into position and slowly pushed out a punch. It was simple and unadorned, as if this punch had been like this since ancient times. It was neither humble nor overbearing, neither increasing nor decreasing. The green qi in the surroundings quickly gathered and fused into his fist. The entire space began to distort rapidly. Not only was the spring coming back to life, but there was also the scorching summer, the desolation of autumn, and the silence of winter. Four powers of different colors appeared and surrounded his fist before fusing together. The rules of heaven and earth and the power of the 4 seasons have been integrated into his fist wind? Chen Chuanzhou's eyes suddenly widened as he gasped in shock. Xiao Huang Hao Lian's talent for comprehension seemed to be above his expectations. If this person did not die today, he would no longer have a place in Mercenary City. Boom boom boom. The 4 seasons Vajra fist shattered the space and engulfed everything. The 3 energies clashed together and the entire space shattered. A black hole appeared between the 3 of them and began to suck in all energy. The devouring power spread out. Not good. Guild leader, save me. Ouyang Qi was the first to be sucked in by the devouring power. Unable to break free, he cried out for help in fear. Chen Chuanzhou gritted his teeth and tried his best to resist the force. He was too busy taking care of himself, how could he have the time to save others? They could only watch helplessly as their companions were swept into the spatial turbulence in despair, with almost no chance of survival. Xiao Huang Hao Lian was also resisting the devouring with all his might. He gathered the regulations of heaven and earth in front of Chen Chuanzhou with all his might. The regulations appeared around his body bit by bit, slowly negating the devouring force. It was actually becoming easier and easier for him. Chen Chuanzhou was getting anxious as he watched. Is this the imperial qi of the 9 heavens? Young Emperor Hao Lian was pleasantly surprised to see the changes in his body. A feeling he had never felt before rose in his heart. It was as if he was becoming one with the world. He had never felt so familiar with his surroundings before. The essence energy in his dantian was also slowly changing at this moment. The energy in his meridians became extremely powerful. It was not a simple accumulation, but a qualitative change. 9 Heavens Emperor Qi. In an extremely well-hidden place within the spatial zone, Qing's pupils also contracted. Its eyes revealed a look of great joy as it muttered excitedly, "That's great, the speed is far faster than I expected." However, he has just condensed it, and the process will take some time. The Emperor Qi will become denser as time passes, and that will be the time for me to snatch it. Boom. The Unaging Mountain. The power of the Unaging Mountain has been activated in advance. In a hidden corner of the space, Qingju's face turned pale with shock. Its face was so dark that it was about to drip water. It felt cold all over, from head to toe. The battle between Xiao Huanghalian and Chen Xuanjiu had triggered the power of the Unaging Mountain in advance, which had suppressed the black hole that had burst out. Not only that, the entire Four Seasons barrier started to change due to the activation of this power. Qing's face paled once more. To its shock, it discovered that although the Four Seasons territory was made up of its main body, it was unable to put up any resistance at all. The Four Seasons began to take turns in its midst. After Xiao Huanghalian and Chen Xuanjiu activated the power of the Unaging Mountain, the scorching sun on the peak of the mountain began to gradually fade away. The frozen snow at the foot of the mountain also slowly melted, forming small rivers that flowed around the mountain. The withered branches and withered leaves on the trees all began to sprout. The 4-time territories surrounding the heavenly immortal mountain also began to change. The border became more and more blurred, and the water and milk merged into one. The entire formation turned into spring. All things recovered and flowers bloomed. It was filled with the joy of spring returning to the earth, making people feel warm. Yunxiao and the others, who were flying toward the immortal mountain, were all shocked by the changes in spring. They could feel the endless changes of the laws of heaven and earth, and their hearts were filled with infinite yearning. My life has a limit, but martial arts is boundless. Yunxiao sighed with emotion as he felt the world changing. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, feeling tiny and insignificant. Humph. Zhang Xiaotian said disdainfully, "People of my generation should become martial sovereigns and rule the world." What boundless, it's all bullshit. Rule the world? In your opinion, Yunxiao chuckled, you think that you can rule the world as a martial sovereign? It should be known that there was no lack of martial sovereigns in the heavenly martial realm, but since the ancient times, who dared to say that one was in charge of the world? I think only Yi Nantian dared to call me that all these years, but he was just a speck of dust in the end. Zhang Xiaotian was also silent. He felt the vastness of the world and the insignificance of his own power. At this moment, he actually had some understanding. He came back to his senses in shock. Just now, his body seemed to have undergone some minor changes, but the changes were wonderful like never before. It was different from the integration of heaven and earth during cultivation. Instead, it seemed to have been sublimated to an extremely high realm and a qualitative change had occurred. That was Ying Luo just now. He was a little uncertain, and it was difficult for him to suppress the excitement in his heart. What made him even more vexed was that he had come out of that realm in just a moment, and he had only comprehended it slightly. Even so, the benefits he had obtained were incalculable. Yunxiao's eyes were filled with surprise. He was very sure that Zhang Xiaotian had just sensed the heaven and earth by chance and showed signs of condensing Emperor Qi. Compared to the accumulation of vital Qi, opportunities were more important in becoming a martial supreme. Zhang Xiaotian's great talent surprised Yunxiao, but it was normal when he thought about it. How could anyone in the Soul Devourer race who could become a 9-stars martial supreme without having their soul extracted be an ordinary person? Among the 7 superpowers, the probability of a 9-star martial supreme advancing to the martial supreme realm was very high. Zhang Xiaotian also seemed to have guessed what had happened to his body. He was completely stunned, followed by incomparable regret and annoyance. He beat his chest and stomped his feet, almost vomiting blood. The people of the Temple of Holy Fire saw his face turn pale and then gloomy. He beat his chest continuously. They were dumbfounded and thought he was sick. Kid, don't be sad. Just look on the bright side. Yunxiao comforted him like a senior. Zhang Xiaotian was so angry he spat out blood. He gritted his teeth and said, "You little brat, you know nothing." How could I be so stupid to not cherish it? Do you know how much of an opportunity I've lost? There's still a chance. Furthermore, you've managed to catch a glimpse of an opportunity, which will greatly increase your chances of breaking through in the future. Zhang Xiaotian was stunned. He was surprised that this kid had discovered the changes in his body. Moreover, he had suddenly gained some enlightenment during the conversation with him just now. When he thought of Yunxiao's previous performance, he suddenly became a little afraid of him, and his face turned dark and uncertain. After that, the group flew into the unaging mountain without a word. It was full of spring inside, full of vitality everywhere, giving people a very comfortable and pleasant feeling of striving to improve. This mountain is so big, how can we retrieve the profound level weapon and open the boundary? Zhang Xiaotian couldn't help but ask. After entering the mountain, they discovered that it was much larger than what they saw on the outside. They couldn't see up or down from inside, only endless trees and mountain flowers that were tender and brilliant. Other than the rich spiritual qi, it was not much different from an ordinary mountain. They had no idea where to start. Yunxiao smiled at him and said, "Just because we can't do it doesn't mean that others can't. Let's see what the others are doing first. In any case, we can only rely on luck to break through this immortal mountain. We can't rush it." Big brother Yunxiao, Yifan said, "The unaging mountain is so big. You're like an ant inside. How can we find others?" He was also a little anxious, not for the unaging mountain, but for the Noah's ship. Ever since he had entered the Four Seasons barrier, that feeling had been faintly discernible. He didn't know how Tang Jiat and the others were doing, or if they had found the location. "We'll have to rely on the two experts of the Soul Devourer clan," Yunxiao said with a smile. "They have their own way of searching for living souls. Even if those people are dead, they have a way to find their souls." Yunxiao looked at Zhang Xiaotian and said with a smile, "Am I right?" Both of them were taken aback. Yunxiao was talking about the soul-searching technique, a secret technique of their race that was not passed down. This secret skill could only be cultivated by the experts who were at the rank of martial honor and above. It was a secret skill used to search for powerful souls in the surroundings. Not only could it detect the location and strength of a living soul, but it could also detect the location and strength of a dead soul. Even within the Soul Devourer race, this secret technique was an extremely secretive existence. Ordinary disciples had no way of knowing about it. "Alright, since you also know about this technique, there's no need for me to hide it. However, I'll say it once more. If we can leave this place safely, you must pass on the secret technique to condense the laws to me." Zhang Xiaotian once again mentioned this matter seriously. The instant condensation of Emperor Qi just now made him have infinite enthusiasm and expectations for the promotion to Martial Emperor. Now, even if Noah's ship appeared in front of him, he couldn't resist the temptation of promotion to Martial Emperor. Yes, don't worry. At our level, our words carry enormous weight. Who would go back on their words and give birth to inner demons that would hinder their cultivation? That's good. When Zhang Xiaotian heard him mention his heart's demon, his expression changed slightly and he was relieved. The later a martial artist cultivated, the more they paid attention to their nature. There were no other things in their heart. If a heart demon was born, it would be difficult to resist it unless one had an extremely high temperament, and it would be difficult to advance in the cultivation path. No one would joke about this kind of thing. He took out his soul-devouring banner and unfolded it in the air. A cold and gloomy aura isolated the vitality of spring in the surroundings, forming a terrifying space of resentment. The golden soul slave slowly emerged from it, stretching its body. Its green eyes kept sizing up the people outside, looking very intelligent. A green light flashed in Zhang Xiaotian's ring and a twisted green face was caught in his hand. He threw it over and said, "Eat it." The golden soul slave's eyes lit up with a green light. It opened its mouth and drooled as it excitedly pounced on the green face. The blue face struggled in fear, but it was devoured by the golden soul slave in a few gulps. For some reason, the golden light on its body became even more dazzling. Zhang Xiaotian frowned slightly, seemingly dissatisfied. He muttered, such powerful soul power, yet there's only this tiny bit of change. How am I supposed to raise it in the future? When the people of the Temple of Holy Fire saw this terrifying scene, they broke out in a cold sweat and kept moving out. They only felt a little warmer after leaving this gloomy and cold space. Yunxiao's pupils constricted as he said, golden soul slaves are divided into 4 grades, heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Every advancement requires tens of millions of dead bones and vengeful souls. This profound artifact refining method is too damaging to the harmony of the heavens. Sooner or later, they will be punished by the heavens. The junior brother behind him looked at the golden soul slave with envy, but when he heard Yunxiao's words, he was stunned. Clearly, even he did not know the level of the golden soul slave. Zhang Xiaotian's body trembled as he stared at Yunxiao in horror and said, the secret of the golden soul slave is only known to the elders in our sect. How did you know about it? Would you believe me if I told you that I've seen Huangfu Isekai gold soul slave? Yunxiao smiled and pretended to be mysterious, which made the two look surprised. Zhang Xiaotian didn't know what level their sect master's soul slave was. He only knew that there were 4 levels of golden soul slaves. This was something he had inadvertently heard from an elder. However, since he was the sect master, he should naturally be of the highest heavenly gold rank. But, he would never believe that Yunxiao had seen it before. He snorted coldly, TSK, you've seen it before? Everyone in this world who has seen the soul slave of the sect master has become a part of the soul slave of the sect master. He only felt that Yunxiao was becoming more and more unfathomable, and he was getting more and more frightened. After he calmed down, he sat down cross-legged and began to use the soul-searching technique. After the golden soul slave ate the cyan face, it showed a satisfied expression. As Zhang Xiaotian sat down cross-legged, it also sat cross-legged and moved with Zhang Xiaotian's hand gestures. Its movements were exactly the same as Zhang Xiaotian's, but they were a bit slower. Soon, the golden soul slave made a strange seal with his hands, and a red light emitted from his hands. His eyes kept rolling on his face as if he could see through the vegetation, the forest, and the layers of space, staring into the distance. Everyone tensed up as they watched the soul slave's expression and observed the changes in his expression. The soul slave's eyes rolled around slowly without any expression. The people around felt a chill as if something had swept through their souls. Even in this spring, they could not resist the cold air. Suddenly, the soul slave retracted his gaze and turned his eyes to stare at Yunxiao. A dark green light burst out of his eyes, and his saliva poured down like a waterfall. He really wanted to eat it. Yunxiao was so frightened by the soul slave's appearance that he sucked in a cold breath and took a few steps back, his face turning a little white. His eyes flashed with anger as he shouted, Zhang Xiaotian, what do you mean by this? A strange and surprised look appeared on Zhang Xiaotian's face. Looking at the golden soul slave's extremely eager expression, he turned to Yunxiao in shock, looked him up and down, and then slowly said, the soul slaves have already searched the area. There are more than 10 powerful souls moving around within 1,000 miles. But the strongest soul among them is still you. His eyes flickered as he stared coldly at Yunxiao, as if he wanted to see through the latter. Yunxiao felt that his throat was a little dry. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and calmed himself down. With a sneer on his face, he said, hurry up and tell your soul slave to turn his head away. This young master's hair is standing on end under his gaze. Believe it or not, I'll make sure it's consigned to eternal damnation and never to reincarnation. No matter how strong his heart was, being stared at by that strange thing so greedily, anyone would feel numb in their heart. If he had the strength of his previous life, he would probably annihilate these people on the spot with a sword. Zhang Xiaotian revealed a cold smile and said, if I'm not wrong, you should be an alchemist, and at least a 6th tier one at that. Otherwise, my soul slave would never show such a greedy look. He gently made a hand seal, and the golden soul slave revealed an unwilling expression as it was pulled back into the soul-devouring flag. Yunxiao pondered for a moment and said, they should be Shen Feng, the leader of the skeleton mercenaries, and the nine-winged spirit snake bird. The other souls should be from the Four Extremes sect. Where are the two martial sovereigns and the demon clan members? Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed and he hesitated. There's rule force around a martial sovereign. My soul slave's level isn't high enough, so I can't detect it. In addition, there are several places in the mountain that have restrictive spells, and we can't check the situation inside. I think those great demons might be in those restrictive spells. Everyone's head was a little dizzy from hearing this, and Feng Zhu couldn't help but complain, this king-level master is really F***king abnormal. Not to mention that there's a formation within a formation, even the formation core has a restriction. How the F***ck are we supposed to survive? The key must be in those restrictive spells, Yunxiao said with a frown. I'm afraid the demons are one step ahead of us. The Four Extremes sect has lost the protection of the great demon. Let's capture Tang Jia first. Tang Jia? The eldest young master of the Tang family of the Four Extremes sect? Zhang Xiaotian had also heard of this person's name and frowned. He's one of them? Why did you capture him? Yunxiao smiled. You don't have to ask about that. It will be of great use to you. Lead the way, dear. Zhang Xiaotian didn't ask any more questions. The dozen or so people from the Four Extremes sect were indeed the ones they were most confident in taking down. He could replenish his golden soul slaves, so he naturally wouldn't resist. He took the lead and flew in front while the others followed closely behind. The size of the unaging mountain was still within their visual estimation. After flying for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, they saw many figures flashing about, as if searching the mountain for something. While they were flying, the season in the mountains changed again, from spring to summer. The sun was shining brightly in the sky, and the temperature rose sharply. Who's there? Shan Yongzi was the first to notice their presence. With a loud shout that reverberated in a radius of a few miles, all the members of the Four Extremes sect quickly gathered in the center. Tang Jia's pupils constricted as he immediately discovered Yunxiao and the others in the air. What made him even more afraid was Zhang Xiaotian, who he could not sense the slightest aura from, so there was only one possibility his strength was far higher than his. Young Master Tang, I haven't seen you for a while. Yunxiao stepped forward from the void and greeted them with a smile. Tang Jia's expression changed drastically. Without those demons, Shan Yongzi, who was the strongest among them, would not be able to restrain them. His heart grew heavy as he said, Li Yunxiao, although we have some grudges between us, we have no grudges against each other in general. Why don't we turn from enemies into friends and deal with the difficulties before us together? Yunxiao shook his head and said, it's a good suggestion, but how can I turn a man who goes back on his word like young Master Tang into a friend? Don't forget what you promised me. You haven't fulfilled your promise to eat the Netherworld battleship. Tang Jia's eyes flashed with anger. After he entered the Lightsong woodland, if this person had not been against him all the way, he would not have ended up in this situation. Perhaps he would have already obtained the Yin key and Noah's ship. Now, not only was he trapped in the enchantment of the throne, but even Yin key's whereabouts were also unknown. All of this was caused by the person in front of him. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't defeat him now, he would definitely kill him at the first moment. There are no eternal enemies in the world. Young Master Yunxiao, with my status, I'm definitely worthy of being your friend. Tang Jia swallowed his anger and tried to please the other party, saying, the talk about eating battleships that day was just a joke. You and I can be considered friends if we don't fight. If we continue to fight, it won't be good for either of us. Don't you agree? Child's play? Yunxiao was stunned. If one day you suddenly say that befriending me is just child's play, then what should I do? Zhang Xiaotian didn't seem to have any trouble and coldly said, why are you talking so much nonsense? This tribulation of the Tang dynasty is yours, the rest is mine. As soon as he finished speaking, he did not wait for Yunxiao's reply. He spread out the soul-devouring flag in his hand and let it flutter in the wind. A cold and gloomy air spread out, covering the sky and the sun. Although it was a hot summer, a cold wind and chilly air began to appear all over the mountain. The members of the Four Extremes sect felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Even the Seven Stars Marshal Supreme, Shan Yongzi, felt a chill run down his spine as he cried out in shock, "Who are you? I'll be the owner of your soul soon." Zhang Xiaotian sneered. He made a gesture with his hand, and the golden soul slave slowly crawled out of the soul-devouring flag. It drooled and rushed down to the people below. Its eyes were full of green light, and it let out an excited cry. The people from the Four Extremes sect were all scared out of their wits and turned to escape. "Don't run. Swear your loyalty to the eldest young master. Die." Shan Yongzi roared as he unleashed all his strength. He knew that this was the moment of life and death. If he couldn't win, he wouldn't be able to escape either. Moreover, this was the best time to show his loyalty. As long as he could survive this, he would return to the Four Extremes sect in the future and be Tang Jie's trusted aide. He would not have to risk his life like this anymore. The power of a Seven Stars Marshal Supreme burst out all of a sudden, and the cold chi that filled the sky was immediately pushed up. It warmed the hearts of all the martial artists, and their morale was greatly boosted. Boom, boom, boom. The dozen or so martial artists attacked at the same time, creating a spectacular scene. They bombarded the golden soul slave, preventing it from coming down.